I came here as a practitioner too. When they were busy introducing me, they mentioned other people, doctor. I said to Nicole, I don't have a PhD or an MBA. I've been working for 7 years as a DEI consultant, DEI, B for belonging. It always gets forgotten. People speak a lot about diversity, equity, inclusion, and they forget belonging. When I belong, the research shows us that when I belong in an organization, it can improve my performance by up to 35%. When I belong, my employer's problems are also my problems. When I belong and the phone rings at 5:05 p.m., I can still deal with the call. When I don't belong, your problems are not my problem. We do a lot of work globally, also in Africa, East and West Africa, and we've seen the power of belonging as well. I offered to speak around culture. Can you all hear me? Yes. I'm gonna keep to my time. My colleague Elsie spoke so well on culture. She stole all our notes. Karen, I agree with you. She took all of our notes. Yeah. This woman is a spy. She took all of our notes. Seriously, and I think Professor Pam planned this very well with her. So this again, there's an agenda. You'll appear in the Matanga Commission. There's an agenda. All I can say under culture, I'm going to say very uncomfortable things about how does company culture show itself on disability. This area of disability, under org culture, companies avoid it. Under org culture, disability is avoided. It's an issue to avoid. 2, it's a very uncomfortable thing, you mentioned it as well, to speak about. So companies, our culture is this issue. We can talk about P&L, we can talk about strategy, we can talk about measures, we can talk about buying a new product or product design, but this issue in companies, their culture, you avoid the issue. And then the other one is, it's not critical. Companies do a whole lot of great things, but this one, it's not critical. Disability is not, I'm not saying it's not, but the culture of the company is saying this issue is not critical. Then also there's another one that says, the culture says, and the company's culture says, this issue will work itself out. Let's not do anything about it, but disability to sort itself out. Then the other one is, this is the painful one, unconscious incompetent. We as a company in our culture, we don't know what we don't know about disability. So on this issue as a company, our culture is we don't know. We know that we do have some few people who are disabled. There's one in finance, then there's one in marketing, and there's the other lady who always comes at 8:01, her husband drops her in, she's on the leave. That's all we know. That's the data we know, but beyond that, we don't know, yeah? And then this, Professor Bam said it very well earlier, and I'm sorry to say this, I'm a practitioner, so in Afrikaans, they said, sorry, now you understand the Blom. You understand the Blom surname now. Privilege, disability has an element of privilege in South Africa. Disability has an element of privilege in South Africa. I worked for 31 years in corporate. There was a certain group of men and women of age, when they were privileged, I could see what resources was afforded to them. I could see that because either the color of their skin or their background, they had more resources. The point I'm making is that in South Africa, disability has an element of privilege. And that's because of the history of our country, and we can't ignore that. There are people who, because they are disabled, their only breakthrough is just to get a grant. Because of their own breakthroughs, let me just get a grant and I'll make, but there are certain people, because they are disabled, they've got other means to make it. So there's an element. So when we say there's 3% target and there's 1% that are already working, the question, it would be nice to analyze in the 1% that are working, which group is actually in management. I would love that data, and of that group, which group is male or female? Yeah, I'm done now with the uncomfortable stuff. And then our experience on working in disability, just a brief about us, what we do, so that you don't think, our logo has got a circle like that, a crawl. In our work, we believe that We might want to create a space where uncomfortable discussions can be had. We only do 3 things as a company, 7 years. 80% of our work is consulting in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And 70% of our work is done outside South Africa. And I'll be honest with you, I enjoy working outside this country on this particular issue, DIB. Why? Because I don't get dragged into race and gender nonsense. Globally, I deal with real DIB issues. In Nairobi 2 months ago, when I was running a workshop for staff, it's a session we only ran for staff. There were 21 staff members. The lady sitting on this side, her words in the session went like this: in this organization, sexual harassment, toxic work and abuse has been internalized in the organization. And then the one sitting on this side, she was sort of with a braided photographic. She was sitting number 2. Her feedback was, there are silent roles for women in this organization. That feedback, I love it for my work. Because now I can go deep and analyze how it shows itself out. My experience of disability was through Deaf SA. When I was an HR transformation executive, I went out to Deaf SA, I reached out and we employed 2 deaf people to come and work in our organization. I was surprised when one of them was retrenched in the company, and when I investigated, I found this out, that the lady stayed in Khayelitsha once a fortnight. She had to go for a checkup, meaning that she won't start work at 8:30, she started work around about 10 o'clock. But she had to get into a train. And I didn't know this. Apparently one of her legs was slightly shorter. So when she had to get into a train, she couldn't be able to put her leg on the platform. As a result, every time a train came, she would be late in a train, and she was always late at work, and she was retrenched. I think if we want to speak about disability, let's speak about the real nonsense, about the real issues around disability. And I'm nearly done. I'm not going to bore you. Now I'm going to become silent. I'm going to take 1 minute. I've been given 15 minutes. I've already used 6 minutes. I want to use my 1 minute for silent. My silence is for the men and women who are not in this room, who are either in a village in South Africa, who are disabled, who never hear our discussion. My silence is for the parents who have a child who's disabled and they think that there's something wrong with them. My silence is for that child or that member of the family who grew up in a village who have been made to believe that if a member of your family is disabled, it's a sign of witchcraft. My silence is for the mother who's given birth to a child who's disabled and the husband thinks that there's something wrong with this. My silence is for that South African who either through an accident found himself or herself disabled and discovered that the premiums that he or she had been paying in an insurance company are not able to cover their disability. My silence is for the men and women we see in robots who are disabled and we quickly close our windows because we don't know how to look at them. Because to be honest with you, I, Samkelo, I'm also disabled. I've got a wife and I've got 2 girls. I've realized that my male brain is disabled on EQ issues. I've also come to realize that I'm also disabled because sometimes when I'm driving in a mall and I quickly want to go and withdraw something in an ATM machine and I see a disabled bay, my brain says to me, you can just quickly park here, Sam, run with the machine and then get out. Am I in a way also disabled as well then? So we take silence now, we think of those people who will never hear this discussion, which is so rich and empowering around disability. And then I move on. Giving you time to read it. I want to read it. Thanks. Can I move on? So we believe that an inclusive culture is more than a policy. It speaks to behaviors and norms. But Elsie stole all this information, so I'm not going to dwell on these slides. She spoke about psychological safety. Karen also spoke about psychological safety as well. I want to speak about the last slide. You know, when we speak in the work we do, we always say leaders must do this. Leaders must do this. Can I ask a simple basic question? What if the leaders don't know how? What if they know how to do strategy, they know how to do finance, but they don't know this how part? What if they know strategy, they know finance, they know systems, they know integration, but they how? And we keep on using this. We use this word so loosely that leaders are accountable. What if they don't know? So who coaches the leader? I listened here earlier on how, because I was also an HR executive. It's funny how sometimes we beat HR. I coach HR executives one-on-one as part of my work. The more I work with HR, I sometimes see men and women who are always running on a treadmill. HR has got so much to do that this thing that we're asking them to do, they don't have a space to do it. The best gift we can give HR is to either unlearn or to stop them. So I'm only raising two things. What if the people we say disability depends upon, one, being leaders, they honestly elevate me? Two, the people who work in mental health Blom, they also don't know their how part. What if? And yet we beat them that it's an HR responsibility. Nearly done for those of you who are choosing to sleep. So you're always talking about the values and behaviors. We're talking about systems and systems. Elsie said it very well. Systems are very important because sometimes systems were designed with others in mind. My career went very well in corporate, but I was very aware that there were things in corporate when I was working that they were not designed with Samkelo in mind. I once saw it, Professor Bam said it very well, that we can be uncomfortable. I once said to my white colleague who was an IT executive, I said, we both work in this company. It's JSE listed. It's over 700 billion rands in the JSE in terms of market cap. But my experience as an HR executive in this company and your experience are two different. We both report to the CEO, we both sit in Exco, but I as an African, as an executive, I experience, and you know the brand very well, you know the company very well, but I experience this company differently. Even now as a CEO of my own company, staying in Cape Town, I still attend meetings with other entrepreneurs where 90% of the people in the room don't look like Samkelo. And I still get asked, is this your company? Sam, don't take me in the wrong way, how long have you been doing this? If it's happening to me, who's able, how much more for somebody who's what? Who's disabled? Andile, we've just run a program now for the university. They asked us to design a program on DIB for 3 months at the university. I asked Andile, who's blind, I attend a men's camp with him once a year. I asked him to come and speak about disability in this academic program. I was so surprised about my own unconscious bias when I invited Andile. I used words like, Andile will take Uber, and then Uber will drop him into the building, and then Andile must just get up. Must just go up just one floor. This is a guy who works in DIB, inviting somebody to come and speak who's blind. And then people use that, Uber can do this, and then I said to my ops manager, can we please provide Andile a better experience from the moment he leaves his house up until he stands in front and speaks. I had to spend 2 hours with Andile, coaching and briefing him about his audience who are in academia and how to make disability real for those who are in academia. My experience of working with Andile, who runs his own company, who's blind, who's costa like me, made me realize that actually I still need to learn more about disability. Nearly done, colleagues. I know now this is like a from the slab now. So 3 important things is around how we recruit, the physical and also the accommodation. I'm skipping the other slides because time is out. In our work, we always use African proverbs, so you'll never see us using Maxwell, Simon Sinek. We're very committed to Africa. No offense intended, by the way, but in ours, we only use, all our work, we use only African proverbs. We're in Africa for Africa. So I think as I close, this particular issue of disability, there's still a lot of it that has not been discussed. And my saddest part about this session today is that the men and women who are leaders, either in IT or finance, in marketing or in HR, who should have been here, they are not here. That for me is the painful part. Thank you.